For me, the biggest challenge around stewarding all of my life is around stewarding my time, making sure I have my priorities where I want them to be. For me, those are God first, which means a lot of time needs to be spent with Him. Then my family, and to not have my family crowded out, and then ministry, and it needs to be creative and good use of my time in ministry, not trying to tweak the final line on a sermon or on a web page, but really good, purposeful, thoughtful, meditative time given towards the ministry of the church. So time management is really my biggest challenge as far as stewardship goes.
The Panagia icon is the one I use when we're talking about helping cradle a congregation as it's growing in its deepening of their spiritual life around money and having the growing pains, and they're painful, the growing pains of doing stewardship better and helping people with the responsibility of caring for their money and their God and figuring those two things out. And so the Panagia icon is this, it's the Jesus kissing tenderly the mother. And so Jesus kisses tenderly the mother tenderly holds the child's arm and hand are under her clothes around her neck. There's really a warmth and a humanity to this tenderness. And it's that warmth and humanity that we need to exhibit as we help people with their fundraising and the giving of their pledge. Because it's scary. We use our money to protect ourselves from bad things that could happen, when actually God is there for that. But we tend to use our money for that. And so as we help people to make this life shift from tipping God to making a robust and gorgeous pledge to make right the relationship with God that needs to be made right and to bless the world around them with those monies, we have to hold them tenderly. And sometimes they'll kick, and sometimes they'll punch, and sometimes they'll have a tantrum and cry, but you just keep holding them until they get past it. And that's why I love that Panagia icon in stewardship conversations, because it helps us to remember that we have to be kind to people, because their conversion of life is painful and hard. On the other side, it'll be life-giving and joyful, but on the way, it's hard. No matter how small or large a congregation you are, have food and have fun. Make this a campaign that people cannot ignore. Have fun. People will say, especially curmudgeons, and Lord knows I come from New England, so I know what I'm talking about here. The curmudgeons will say, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste money on that chocolate. I don't want to do this. Would you spend this money on this campaign or this food, having too much fun here? And I don't want to eat with these people. I just want to go to church with them. Well, hello, Eucharist? I'm sorry, but you know. So do this in remembrance of me. What part of that do you not understand? So have fun. In my church, my first year as a curate, I got the entire vestry to go to the costume shop and rent costumes of court jesters and kings and queens and all the people of a court, right? And they dressed up in medieval wear. And they had those shoes that curl up with the bells on them, and the hats that have the bells on them, and they looked ridiculous. And they had so much fun. So lighten up and have a big party to start off and a big party to end, and in the middle, have a little bit of fun. What we do is something called ministry minutes. What are ministry minutes? Ministry minutes are opportunities for people to get up and speak to the congregation about what they love in the church. Now, I have seen people say, we don't do that, Charles. We have people get up and talk about why they pledge. I think that's a huge yawn, but if that works for you, fine. What I'm more interested in, and what I think the people are more interested in, is why do you love this place? Because loving this place is the investment of this place. And so what we do is, in the summer, before there's a panic, we choose the people who are going to speak in the parish, whether there's 20 people in the congregation or 2,000. And they range, so diversity. A child, a parent, so a child about the youth program or a camp they went to, and a parent about raising their children in the church, and someone who loves the flowers and the beauty of the liturgy to talk about the transcendence of mystery and beauty and how that affects their spiritual life. The issue here is gratitude, because as you know, gratitude is the ex-lax of generosity. Okay, so gratitude is the ex-lax of generosity. Gratitude is what makes generosity possible. It releases, I don't need to get into too much detail, but you know what I mean, right? It just makes, if the people who aren't pledging and the people who aren't giving are simply people who are not understanding the theology of gratitude. And if they did, and it's our job to help them, it'll change their pledge and it'll change their life. Because this is the church. And the thing about God and the thing about Jesus is that Jesus' goal for the church was not the funding of electricity, fuel, and salary. Jesus actually had a much bigger idea than that for church. That's a puny, small idea. And we need to have a much bigger vision for what we're going to do. And if because people are giving 30 and 40% of their income because they can, means that we can do all the more outreach and service to the community, great. So I'm not a big fan of someone saying, well, we raised $222,000 last year, so we're going to raise $224,000 this year and call it a victory for Jesus. What I'm interested in is you run the best campaign you possibly can. You have food, you have fun, you have wacky costumes, you have chocolate potlucks. By the way, a chocolate potluck is awesome because everybody brings their chocolate potluck favorite recipe, and people are on such a high after that thing. It is ridiculously fun. Have food, have fun, do good, effective management, have your campaign video if you can afford one, have your campaign case if you can't, have your speaking, your ministry minute speakers, have your beautiful materials that are well thought out, have your case for support that's compelling and exciting for the donor. And then if you raised $224,000 last year, wouldn't it be great if, because of that good management and great vision and excelling in all of these aspects of campaign leadership, instead of $224,000, you raised $276,000? Now, if your campaign last year raised $222,000 and you set a goal of $224,000 and you reported on that goal and you said, you know what, we're $1,000 away from our goal. Oh, we've just reached our goal. What happens? I'm not giving $225,000. I can give my money to the YMCA because my church doesn't need it. Please don't do that. This is about life. And this is about joy. And the best work you can do, this icon is the Panagia icon. The best work you can do is to tenderly hold the people in your congregation and love them through this transition. Because this is very much a transition of going from having a letter to having a campaign. Now, many of you, I'm sure, have full-blown campaigns, and that's great. But if you are moving from one place to another in your campaign management and leadership around money, then there's going to be some growing pains, and you're going to need to hold people tightly. Sometimes your warden and your clergy, you're going to have to hold them and rock them and comfort them because this is new and scary. But it's possible.